So there's a Casio watch out there that you might be familiar with. It's talked about a lot on YouTube and watch forums with the watch enthusiasts talking about how it's such good value for money. That is the Casio Oceanus OCW-S100 something something. I think the Japanese really need to work on their naming schemes, but basically this Oceanus is very popular. People say that the features and the quality is great for the price, and I'm here to say that I was actually able to buy this watch for 75% off, so just a quarter of the retail price. And so why was I able to get it and how was I able to get it? Let's talk about it in this video. Now, before we get to looking at the watch, I'm just going to quickly talk about what Oceanus is. So you can think about how Seiko has Grand Seiko, or how Citizen has the Citizen, the Chronomaster lineup. Well, Casio has the Oceanus lineup. So these are kind of their premium, higher end watches. Mostly they're sold in Japan, but there are a few other countries that sell them. And yeah, they're ocean inspired watches. They're higher end, made of better materials, better finishing. And even though they are ocean inspired, I wouldn't really call them diver watches per se, but I'm sure if you do take them to the ocean, they will last. So the Casio Oceanus that we're looking at today, it costs 74,800 Japanese yen on the official Casio website, which is about 800 Canadian dollars. But I was able to find it online secondhand for 18,750 yen, which is about 200 Canadian dollars. So you can see that that is much cheaper than the retail price. So why exactly did the price drop by 75%? Well, I think there's a few reasons here. And the first thing we're going to look at is quality of the timepiece as well as the condition. So let's skip ahead to the unboxing. All right, so here's the unboxing, and you can see that I was able to purchase this watch complete in box. So this is the Oceanus logo as well as the title. You can see that it has that nice tinge of blue, and you'll see that tinge throughout the watch. So we'll go ahead and open this up, and you can see the Oceanus box here. We're going to set that aside. We do have the instructions as well as the warranty. Now the warranty is not stamped, but the instruction booklet, it said copyright 2012. So this watch is likely 10 years or younger. So we'll go back to the box here. I kind of like this design. It has that clamshell design, kind of reminiscent of a clam. So it kind of fits the Oceanus theme. And then once we open up the box, we have the pillow, we have some extra links. We don't have the watch here because it is over here. I wasn't actually able to get the watch back onto the pillow because my wrists are so small. So now that the watch is in front of us, here's 5 things that stood out to me for this watch. So the first thing is the weight, and I can't really express this in the video. Unfortunately, I don't have a scale, but trust me when I say that this titanium watch is quite light. Titanium is about half the weight as stainless steel, and both the case and the bracelet is made of titanium. So it's super lightweight, and especially when it's on your wrist, sometimes you even forget that you're wearing it. And if I compare it to something like this here, the Seiko SNA 411, the Flightmaster, this watch on my left is like 2 to 3 times the weight of this Oceanus. And so some people don't like titanium. They feel like it's too light. It almost feels fake. But I'm a fan of titanium. I really like when my watches are nice and lightweight. The second thing you'll notice is the blue theme for this watch. You can see that around the edges of the crystal, you can see that kind of blue tinge around the side. It's quite subtle, but it's definitely there. You can also see blue on the seconds hand, and also for the hour indices on the sides, you can see that there's blue. And I believe that this is quite fitting, again, because of the Oceanus. This is an ocean-inspired lineup of watches, so I really like that. I will say though that at certain angles, like if you go onto the side, you almost don't see the blue at all. So sometimes the blue just completely disappears, but if you get it at just the right angle, then you'll start to see all the blue appear on the watch. Now the third thing I noticed about this watch is the branding. You can see at the 12 o'clock position, it says Oceanus first and then Casio second. I feel like this is kind of similar to how the G-Shock watches are branded. So for Casio G-Shock watches, you'll see that on their watches, the G-Shock logo or the branding is printed really big, but then Casio's kind of hidden away, and it's kind of similar to what we have here. Personally, I don't mind that the Oceanus is put first. You could argue that this makes it even look more premium because you pay attention more to the Oceanus and the Oceanus logo rather than Casio, which is more known for their affordable watches. Now the fourth thing I want to talk about is the finishing. Now most of this watch is a brush finish and it's done pretty decently, but I believe what differentiates a premium watch from a more cheaper watch is how do they finish with the high polish. And you can see here that it's polished pretty decently. The technique used here is pretty much the same as Zaratsu polishing that they use on Grand Seikos. And Zaratsu polishing is basically like a mirror-like finish. So a really premium mirror-like shiny finishing here. And I don't have a Grand Seiko to compare this watch to, but I do have my Citizen Chronomaster. And the Citizen Chronomaster was also polished using the similar technique. And you can compare the two bezels together. I mean, it's kind of difficult on camera, but I will say that in my personal opinion, I do think that the Citizen Chronomaster executed this better. Same with the indices, but of course the indices here are blue, and I think that's more of a matte finish, but I still believe that the Citizen Chronomaster did a better job in this situation. But that's not to say that the Casio did bad. I just think that the Citizen did a little bit better. Now the last thing I want to talk about is the bracelet. And the bracelet here, you can see we have full size links, we have half links, and we have one micro adjust on the clasp here. So overall, it's a pretty decent bracelet. One thing that really stood out to me though for the bracelet is the sunken in pushers. I feel like this is the first watch that I had that had sunken in pushers. Because usually when you have a watch, the pushers are sticking out, like the Citizen Chronomaster here. You push both of these to open the clasp. But for this one, it's sunken in. And I feel like this looks better. It just looks more seamless that way. So I will give credit to the Oceanus for this really nice bracelet. So overall, this is a good quality watch. Not only is it good materials, but also the finishing is great. And I would say that the condition for this particular one that I got is pretty good. There's not even that much dirt or grime on it. Again, I don't know when this watch was manufactured, but it does look like it's pretty much new. I'm just gonna get this on my wrist here. And you can see that on my 6-inch wrist. Now, in terms of the price, again, this sells for about $800 Canadian. When you do sell a watch that's used, even if it's used a little bit, that does decrease the value of the watch. Usually you can't sell it at the retail price. So that can drop anywhere between 10 to 20%. So for this watch in particular, if we just go conservatively and say that it drops about 20%, let's say that we'll take the original price of $800 and we'll drop it by $150. So now we are down to $650. The next thing I want to talk about is the movement, and this is a solar quartz movement, so it's powered by bringing the watch to a light source, especially direct sunlight, that works best, but it's also a radio controlled watch. And what that means is that it'll actually pick up a radio frequency, and that actually helps adjust the time to make sure that it's perfect. You can see here that on the inner bezel, you can see different time zones here. You can see LAX for Los Angeles. So basically you can set this watch to the perfect time no matter where you go, as long as it can pick up that radio frequency. It can even pick up things like daylight savings time. And I won't really go into detail on how to do that exactly. It took me a while to set it to the right time. But basically, because it's radio controlled, it'll pretty much be a perfect timekeeper as long as those radio frequencies are out there. So far, everything I've said about the movement in a practical sense is good. You want a watch that can take in light so it never needs a battery change, and you also want a watch that's super accurate. But in terms of resale value, there is a problem with this watch, and it's the fact that it's a quartz watch. What I've learned through my watch collecting years is that quartz watches typically don't have as good resale value compared to mechanical watches. And for that reason alone, this watch wouldn't have as good resale value if this was a mechanical watch, unfortunately. I'm a fan of quartz watches, but I believe that this is something that is a general trend in the watch industry. So for this watch, I would minus $100 for the resale value. That's a little bit harsh, but we'll just round it up to 100 just for the sake of this video. So what we have so far is a watch that's made of very good quality materials. It has great finishing. The condition is very good. It's not brand new, but there's only a few scratches here and there. The movement is quartz, so some people won't like that. That does decrease its resale value, but it is a radio control movement, it's solar powered, and overall I think it's pretty good quality. So to be honest with you, I don't think it's the quality of this watch or the condition of this particular timepiece or even the quartz movement that's the main culprit of why this watch is selling for so cheap. I believe that the main culprit here is actually brand recognition. Casio is known for mainly two things. The first one would be their vintage digital watches that sell for less than $100. So think of things like the F91W or the A158. And then the other thing that they're known for is the G-Shocks, especially the ones that are less than $500. So things like the Casio Oaks, people really like it because they look really nice, but they're also very affordable. The Oceanus lineup doesn't really fit into that picture very well because all their watches sell for above 500 Canadian dollars at retail, and they're mostly sold in Japan, so most people don't really know that they even exist. Even watch enthusiasts have to admit that aside from this particular Oceanus model, people really don't talk about the sub-brand that much, and that's why I would give brand recognition probably a D rating. And with that said, I'm going to bring down the price by $250, which brings our sale price to now $300. Now I could stop this video now and call it a day. You can find the Casio Oceanus on watch forums or on eBay for about 300 to 400 Canadian dollars. But the final thing that we're going to talk about is the platform that you use to buy the watch. Now, I won't talk about this particular platform too much because I've already talked about it in a million other videos, but I did buy this from Yahoo Japan auctions, and the price that I got it at wasn't actually anything special. I could find other listings where this particular watch was sold for about 200 Canadian dollars. And in fact, there was an all black version of this Oceanus. I think this sells for over 80,000 yen retail price. Someone actually got it for about 170 Canadian dollars, which is even cheaper. So if you are interested in buying this watch, forget the watch forums and forget eBay, look at Yahoo Japan auctions. So to summarize this video, I do think that the Casio Oceanus is as good as people say it is. The materials are great with the titanium body and bracelet, the sapphire crystal, the radio controlled solar powered movement. It's a great looking and great feeling watch that I highly recommend to someone who's looking for their next solar powered watch. However, with all that said, I do not recommend buying this watch at the full retail price of 75,000 yen or 800 Canadian dollars, because keep in mind that if you buy one used, the condition will probably lower the price by a bit. The fact that it's coarse will lower it down more. The brand recognition, or rather the lack of brand recognition, will bring it down by a few $100s. And of course, if you choose Yahoo Japan auctions, you can bring it down even further. And that is how I was able to get this watch at 75% off. So anyways, that's my video on the Casio Oceanus watch. Let me know in the comments section down below if you think that the Oceanus is worth that retail price. Thank you again for watching. Subscribe for more videos. And as always, I'll see you guys next time.